Welcome back, Balance Beamers, to the Balance Beam. I'm your host, Naketa Thigpen, and as always, I am completely excited to be here with you. Today, we have another, of course, incredible and amazing guest. She is a pastor. She is a mogul. She is an entrepreneur. She is a speaker. She is an author. She is a business coach, and she is simply incredible. I welcome you, the absolute best woman you could ever meet when it comes to multitasking millions, PM Global's owner, Pastor Monica Haskell. Monica, welcome to Balance Beam.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank you. I'm excited as well. I have been really looking at a lot of the posts that you've been posting on Facebook and some of the other social media outlets that you've been doing. And one thing that captured my attention that caused me to reach out to you is you put out an amazing, incredible give. You posted maybe a month or so ago about tithing into someone's life that I'm assuming may or may not be an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur. And I'm curious, with everything you have going on your plate, what made you want to sow into someone else's life that's clearly a complete stranger?
Well, first of all, I believe in giving, and I believe in the seed time and harvest. I just believe I built my business on that. And as a believer, I have to practice what I preach, and I've watched it work in my life. And so I needed to get some seed in the ground. I'm working on some huge things, and I needed a return. And so what I wanted to do is sow into other people. I believe what you make happen for one, God in turn to make happen for you. So that's why I did it.
I think that was amazing. When I saw it was just coming up and down my news feed, and I was like, what? What is happening? Who is this woman? What a blessing. This is amazing. I'm hoping that, lots of people were responding to that. I didn't even check to look. I just immediately inboxed you and said, I need to talk to you. I need to interview you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell everyone who doesn't have an opportunity to know you and who's probably Googling you right now that they're sitting in front of hopefully a stationary place and not driving balance beamers, because we have a habit of doing that when we're listening to the podcast. But if they pulled over to safely find out who you are, give them a little sneak peek into some of the things, the incredible things that you've done for people across the many hats that you wear.
Well, I am a pastor. My husband and I pastor Prevailing Church with locations in Newcastle, Delaware. I am also the site pastor of our location in Philadelphia, so I have my own location in Philly where I am born and raised. I am an entrepreneur. I have a cosmetic line. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I travel. I'm speaking at different empowerment conferences. I have a speakers association. I have my own online university called PM University. So I am wearing a lot of hats, but it's all under the umbrella of empowerment. I just do empowerment. That's what I'm called to do, and that's what I'm purposed to do.
Well, we have a lot in common because that's exactly what my calling is. I am purposed to empower. And I think we do it in very similar ways with challenging other people to get to that next level of greatness within themselves so that they can help other people. And I think that that's amazing. It's probably why I was attracted to you, not even knowing all of your background before I reached out, which was incredible. And light attracts light. So I'm grateful to have met you and welcome you to the Balance Beam so you can just help pour into other people and help them understand whether they are in a professional career that is very taxing, obviously hourly, time-wise, commodity-wise on their lives, or if they are a current, aspiring, or emerging entrepreneur. What are some of the things that you've had to deal with as you've juggled the many hats that you have and still, maintain some sense of sanity along the way?
Well, the first thing I realized was that I'm graced to handle it all. God would not put all of this in my life, in my spirit, if I couldn't handle it. But I have to know how to handle it. So one of the things that I had to do is understand that everything needed to have its place. For example, it's God first, then my family. And so many times people in ministry get that mixed up. And so I wanted to make sure I had the balance there, so that it's God first and then my family, then it's the ministry. I'm called, I have a calling on my life to preach the gospel, and so it's ministry. But then I had this burning desire for business. And one thing that many church people wanted me to do is choose. Are you going to be in ministry or are you going to be in business? And God clearly spoke to me and said, I'm the God of both. So you don't have to choose. And so, but it was balancing all of this became a challenge. I'm going to be honest. I'm like the Apostle Paul. I count not myself to have apprehended, which means I am not perfect by any means. But what I did was I made sure that I kept my priorities. A lot of times we throw ourselves in business and say we're doing it for our families, but our family get the raw end of the stick. So I promised my children I would make little league games. I promised them I would do, certain things. I don't want to pursue abundant life and help everybody else be great and have abundant life while I miss it myself. I'm not going to do that. So I find time. I work about 3 to 4 hours a day. I work really, really hard. But I make sure I do all the other stuff. So I cook, or get somebody to cook, but I clean or get somebody to clean, but I make sure that all of my duties are taken care of. But I want to say this, many people put their dreams on the back burner and you will be unfulfilled. So there's a way to do it all, but you have to do it gracefully and you have to do it systematically.
You make such a good point. I had to minister about a month ago. I did a few weeks ago, but about a month ago, and we were talking about people mistake that they can have it all. You can't, but you can have everything if you do it under God. And that's a big difference because that all is fulfilling everyone else's needs, everyone else's expectations, everyone else's demands on your life. Like you said in your own example, people who you love and trust and who support you are saying, choose. Who do you want to be? When God said you could have everything if you choose me. So that's a very different kind of view on it that I know is a narrow view based on my beliefs, and not everyone follows my beliefs or your beliefs, which we share the same. And I understand that. So that's a different way to look at it, but it's a way that has worked for me and my family. And clearly it's a way that's working for you because you are really dividing your time in such a magnificent way. I can't even say that it's a spreading thin way. I'm sure you have some days when you're like, listen, I need some strength. This is a lot, but you're doing it in such a systematic way that makes sense with all of who you are, because you noted that you're still using the best parts of you and your gifts aligned with all the hats that you're wearing from across the stages of cosmetics and helping women feel beautiful, through empowerment speaking, through your ministry, through the fact that you have a speaker's bureau for other women and men who need help and guidance with putting together reels and one sheets and all the various things that come with that world, which is very business and monetized. And they just came in it wanting to help. So what you're doing still aligns with your purpose, but you're literally going through different doors to reach different people who are on the other side of that. And I commend you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So here's a question, because you mentioned that you're married, because you mentioned the other pastor,
Yes.
and you're wearing all of these hats, and you are clearly, you have your work down to a bit of a science, which I understand. As an entrepreneur, it has to change up and be flexible. Some days are better than others. But you noted that you work about 3 to 4 hours a week, I'm assuming on your business, and then, or your businesses. And then you have to obviously dedicate time to get filled up and refilled spiritually so that you can minister and do the various things that you have to do as a pastor who is presiding over several churches basically. Where do you have time for love? Like, how does your husband fit into, because you clearly got your mommy hat on with Little League and all that, but where's your time for him outside of your duties together as pastors?
Okay, well, I just want to correct something. Not 3 to 4 hours a week, I wish, but that's where I'm going. It's 3 to 4 hours a day that I work. But I have my office is 5 minutes from home. My husband and I, we're in communication all day long. We've been married for 16 years and we're absolutely annoying. We call each other for every little thing. We still, we will Skype and I'm 5 minutes away. We still do things like that all the time, and it's always like, "Babe, did you such and such?" We find an excuse, and when each one of our children are with us, it's like, "Is that mommy again? Is that daddy again?" We are just horrible like that. But we eat dinner every night together. We travel together as much as possible, and then every night we watch movies and stuff together. So we spend adequate time. We have to work together. We're at the church a couple of times a week, but we find time. It's really, really critical. We are still very good friends. We are still super silly, and we just kind of make things happen. I promised him and God that I did not want success if it had to be at the expense of my marriage. I see so many women being every woman, but their family is not taken care of. And I don't want my husband to resent my business. I want him to enjoy it, and he's enjoying it. Every year I take my family on a 2-week vacation and we stay in the penthouse. So they love my business. So I'm able to provide the luxury items in our lifestyle. So he really appreciates that. He is still very traditional. He takes care of all the bills in the household. So I add, the baller lifestyle to what we're doing. And so I treat him and I do things for him. And when I have a big conference and, when I make money, I'll get him a computer. I get him a Louis Vuitton wallet. I cater to him as well. And so I think that's a way for him to understand that I am doing this truly for us.
That is amazing, and so encouraging on so many levels, because I know that there are people listening who work with their spouses, whether they're the husband or the wife, who may even be trying to provide a succession plan for their family to continue in business so that the husband and wife can retire on some level. And that it's good to hear that someone who has so many hats is able to say, I still know my priorities. And I'm not just saying it, I'm walking in it every single night because I know what my role is in my home, even as the person who's kind of, as you said, bringing the baller life, to what could be a very, humbled moment, being, a pastor, of several churches and giving so much of yourself, time, energy, and money. Because we all know behind the scenes, sometimes pastors don't even take income from the church because they're feeding it and seeding it back in just to make sure everything is okay. So I know your kids are in love with the fact that they get penthouse level vacations. That's awesome. That is awesome. So what do you do for you? How do you rest? Let's talk about the Power Five. These are the 5 things that I want to make sure every person on the balance beam shares about how they renew themselves. So how do you rest?
Well, I'll say this first spiritually. I listen to 1 hour of the word a day. I don't want to be so busy giving out that my personal tank is not filled. So I make sure that I listen to a podcast or look at YouTube and I'm building myself up. So because I have my own office and building, I can really go in. And so I'm very empowered that way. My husband and I, we take 4 vacations a year, but we take 2 just for ourselves. So we do 4 weeks of vacation as a couple. So we do 2 weeks in December and then we do 2 weeks in June, just the 2 of us. And that's a way for me to really escape. What I love about him is that he loves me so much that he allows me to be me. I would be lost on the planet without my laptop. That's not a vacation to me. we do find time to go on the beach, we find time to do all that, but sometimes my mind is just dreaming and looking at other things. And so that's a way that I rejuvenate as well. So he allows me to sneak away and do that as well. But we spend 2 weeks on some type of island somewhere, just the two of us. And then we take the children on 2 separate vacations, normally a week around spring break, and then we do 2 weeks in the summer. So every 6 weeks, I'm getting ready to go on a vacation. So I'm always excited about that. And then I travel a lot. So when I go to destinations like Las Vegas and Orlando, we add 1 or 2 days there. So it almost seems like I'm always on vacation, but it's really, it's work as well. So I travel. I love to travel. That's what I do. And I do have a couple of days on vacation where I do absolutely nothing. I shut myself in and just sleep. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, you definitely seem to have a good take on what your process is, what you need to feel complete. Like you mentioned, it's not really resting for you if you can't have a place to be creative and still pour out some of those other things that are being poured into you. So you can literally make space and make room for the rest. And that's what I hear. That's what it sounds like. You have found a way to make room for your space, which is really good, and make room for your rest. But what about releasing negative energy? There it comes. I know you are constantly, from a spiritual perspective, you're constantly under attack. That's very clear when you're doing so much and you're walking in your purpose. And then from a worldly perspective, haters hate. So what are you doing to deal with, that release of negative energy from your life?
Well, one, I keep it in perspective. I understand that I'm going to be under attack, and if I'm not, then I'm not doing something right. I am a threat to the kingdom of darkness. I empower believers on how to achieve their goals so that they can fulfill their purpose. And so I understand, especially with the manifestation and the momentum that I have, it's annoying. It's a nuisance to the enemy. And so I do come under attack, but the greater one lives on the inside of me. I'm so fearless. I am not intimidated at all. And I'm okay with, what box? I don't even know about being inside the box. And so I can come under scrutiny and under fire. People say things like, she's supposed to be a pastor, or, things of that nature. But what I have found is more people are cheering me on than hating. And so many times we can focus on the 3 people that have something to say and not the thousands that are cheering you on. So what I choose to do is I choose to ignore. Nothing annoys the enemy like you ignoring him. So I ignore him and his imps. I'm human, so I used to try to explain and respond. But I remember I had a conference call yesterday, and it's 3 things that I've learned to be delivered from: pain, understand that it's just temporary; pressure, I understand that, pressure, yes; stress, no. So I understand that I'm going to have that in life. But the 3rd thing that I have been delivered from is people. I can care less what people think. As long as I'm pleasing God, I'm going to do what God calls me to do, because people are always going to have an opinion. They have an opinion when you're doing great. They have an opinion when you're doing terrible. I choose to do great. And so I believe that they're fans in disguise. I had a person say something so negative about me about one of the conferences that I was hosting. And she said, Pastor Monica is always having these $25 conferences. And she's referring to a conference that I have for everybody to come to. I want to empower everybody. I have some conferences that are for the serious entrepreneur that are a little higher price point, but I have a conference that I want everybody to come to. And, she said that, and somebody I trained is somebody that was a mentee of mine in the past. And so, and I said, you know what? It's funny that she knows what's going on, because I don't know anything that she's doing. Like, I'm not looking in your lane. I could care less what you're doing, because, that's not my focus. And so I thought it was interesting. And then, her sister, who's actually a mentee of mine, actually said, yes, she does have these conferences in her own building. And she just started listing all the things that I have. I said, you know what? That's why it's just so important not to even compare. I'm not even going to crash trying to look in your lane. But I just don't let it get to me. I don't. It just doesn't matter. It's not a factor at all.
You made such a good point. And I don't know who this particular person is, but I know that there are lots of people who represent that limited mindset that she was displaying at that time, that limiting mindset that she was displaying at that time. And I would just like to remind anyone who's looking at price point as an indicator of value to think again. And we all have done it, right? Like we may purchase I don't know, a Gucci bag over maybe a Coach bag because we assume that because the Gucci bag is a higher price point that is automatically going to be a better value. Now, I'm not saying that Gucci doesn't make high valued items, but Coach makes nice high value items too, but it's a mindset around what we identify and what we place value on. So I would just like to remind everyone from a entrepreneurial perspective that people who are millionaires plus some, like Robert Kiyosaki, does free conferences all the time, everywhere. So there is a method to the madness for millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, and beyond. And they don't necessarily identify themselves with the cost of the ticket price. Now, and again, that doesn't mean that you don't have a pipeline that pulls people into, okay, I was able to do this conference for free because we do have mastermind level or intensive level or retreat level kind of exclusive things that may be a $300, $400, $500, $600, $1,500 per person ticket. And because of that, we're able to tithe off of our business to open up these other conferences that are free or $25 or $55 or $99 level. But that's because I'm a strategic mogul. That's not because I don't have value. So people who are listening to that and maybe thinking, as we all have done, I have done as well, first partaker of the word, I have looked at things and said, oh, well, I'm not sure how good that will be because, the ticket price is only XYZ dollars. I've done that in my past life. And I understand that as someone who is constantly filled up with new information, knowledge, who presses herself every single day with hours and hours of information and run it through a press of a filter of my own that I've created with my system, that there isn't a monetary value that I could put on what's in my head, let alone what comes out my mouth. So if you're graced enough to be in the presence of a $25 ticket to come hear a Pastor Monica or anyone speak who has value to give, you should jump on it and not question whether or not that the value is going to be high because of the low ticket price. See that as a blessing that now you can see it in another way, because when you come in that door, I'm sure you're able to sell books and cosmetics and give other opportunities for people to access the other layers of yourself that you've seeded your knowledge, expertise, and information and guidance into, and they don't have to break the bank to do it, and maybe even buy two so they can share with someone else in need. So there's a method to the madness for those who are getting caught up in dollar value amounts and kind of matching, value with price point. I would really check where you are and what you're seeing and what your true identity is linked to, you know?
Well, yeah, another thing is what I told her sister was this. Walmart has something for $4.97, and you tell me if they're wealthy. So many people, that's my one-on-one conference where I want people who weren't even thinking about business to understand that there's potential and possibility. I have my coaching program. I have my school. I have so many things for them to participate in once they're there. If not, they can just come to the conference every year to be empowered in their career. Let's just think about it. Let's think about 300-400 people at $25. That's a good day. I never heard a person who didn't enjoy walking away with $15,000-$20,000. And what people don't really understand is, even if I happen to look at your pictures and you seem to have somebody 500 or 50 people, rather 50 people or something like that at $297 or whatever, after you've paid your event coordinator, which I hire, they work for me full time, after you pay for your building, which I own, after you know what I mean? Like it doesn't compare who's walking away with more. So if you want to just kind of look at the business side of it, it still doesn't compare. So what I've learned to do is not try to compare. There are so many people that are doing far greater in an economical sense than I am, and other people that may be pursuing. But what I've learned to do is just not even, a lot of times the people that try to compare you or suck you into that world, it's no comparison. There's no competition at all. And so I just kind of keep doing what I do. I understand my purpose. I tried to walk away from my purpose because sometimes when you're trying to deal with people in our demographic or deal with people who are in the church, it is so hard to change the mindset of people. But then I had to realize I was graced to do it, and whoever is called to be a front runner or something, they're going to get hit first. I get it. And so I accept the challenge and I do what I do.
I think that that is amazing. And I was smiling, and you could see me, of course, but the balance beamers probably couldn't see that. I was pointing to myself when you said running from your purpose, because I know I said some nasty things about what I was not going to do, including the things that I'm doing today. And it's all directly aligned with my purpose. I remember years ago, probably my youngest is 14, so over a decade ago, a friend of mine and I were sitting and watching another conference. Don't ask me who was speaking. It might have been Paula Hill. It was someone, and it was a huge live stream conference that she was doing, and we were sitting in the balcony of wherever watching it, and she said, "Oh, you know that's going to be you, right?" And I gave her this wicked whip around of my head, like, "Who are you talking to?" "No, I'm not." It was just an immediate reaction of what I thought I wasn't going to do. And anyone who knows me knows they're not surprised to hear, "Oh, she's speaking. Oh, she's writing. Oh, they're none of them are surprised, but I was surprised because I couldn't see what my role was supposed to be because I was too far in the minutia, the details, the chaos of life, and allowing the negative Nicks and the negative Nancys in my head. And a lot of that was me. And it was from my own creation. So you're absolutely right when you say you have to change your mindset. Your mindset is the key to everything. It could open you up or it could close you in. And that's something that we all have to understand quickly because this moment is not guaranteed. And we know that. As soon as we disconnect from this moment in time of podcasting, our lives could change forever in a good way or a not so good way. So you need to stop belaboring the process and figuring out that you could play around or just delay what you need to be doing because you feel like you have time and you really don't know what your time looks like. So I thank you for that. And I have to ask you a connected question. You talked about focus a lot, which is a major part of my life. I teach on time management and productivity and strategic planning and focus. And a lot of that comes back to refocusing your mind. We can be focused and we can go full throttle in something, but then life or the project or something pulls us in and we haven't found a way to refocus and recenter ourselves. What do you do when you're in the throes of, let's just pick on that conference that you're talking, the big annual conference you do every year, when you're zoning in on something that's a major project and a major part of your time, because I know you see your lifeblood into that project. What do you do to refocus when you have to, come back to maybe now another division is calling attention because of a crisis, a problem, or maybe a great thing, an opportunity, to pitch your cosmetic line to, a major firm or get it on different shelves or something of that. How do you refocus when you're really kind of pulled into something else that's really commanding your time?
Okay, I'm going to give you this is a perfect example of this. Last year, I was hosting a major conference in Atlanta, and it was much more expensive than I thought it would be. And so I am, my company is taking care of all of the expenses for this conference, and registration was not as I had predicted. And so I knew it was going to be a great conference, but it was so super expensive. And so I was kind of stressing about the finances of the conference. And so I'm in pursuit of that. And then I was speaking in Raleigh. I'll just tell you real quick. I was speaking in Raleigh, and one of my assistants came to me and said, there's a conference going on in Raleigh in a couple of weeks. Are you going to come back down for that to vend? And I said, no. She said, it's called the Women's Empowerment Conference. And it's like thousands of women that are going to be there. And it's like about maybe, I don't know, if it was $2,000 event. I was like, no, I'll come when they want me to speak. And it was just, I was so serious. And because I knew I had this conference and I was not about to drive back to Raleigh. And so, lo and behold, all of a sudden, after I finished the conference in Raleigh, the senior marketing director for this huge conference was in my midst. I had no idea. So they called me back and she's like, Pastor Monica, you're not going to believe this. They want you to speak at the conference. Now, conference is huge. Tyler Perry is the keynote. It was only celebrities. I was the only pastor on this panel. It's like, you got to do this. It's the week before my conference. Registration is not going great. How do I do? You can't pass up this opportunity. And I remember thinking to myself, what do I do? Is this a test? God, what are you saying? And so lo and behold, we went to the conference and I was like, I got to focus on this. So I literally had to take something that was a week away and put it on the shelf and actually trust God like I teach other people. I had done everything I could do. I had planned as much as I could plan. I had to trust God. And so I had to put that on because I got to show up. This is my largest crowd ever. I'm speaking in front of 20,000 people. I've got to show up. I've been praying for this moment. And I'll tell you this. God blessed. I showed up. They let me promote my school. I got more in one day than I had gotten all year with registrations and all of this stuff for my school. So on my way back, because I couldn't get a flight, it was so last minute. On my way back, I remember looking at my phone and all I had was PayPal notification. All of these people registered for my conferences. People were driving from route. It was God's way of blessing me. And had I been so closed-minded to what was going on, or had I panicked under pressure, I would not have even participated in saying I can't do it this year. But so to say that I focus on what I'm doing at that point, I give it my everything, and I just believe God that He's going to grace me to deal with whatever challenge I have with it. And then at a certain point, like the conference I have coming up, if I've done all I can, I'm not going to worry. The Bible says he neither slumbers nor sleeps. So since He's up, I don't have to stay up. I'm not staying up about any of this. Where He guides, He provides. It's His responsibility to take care of what He called me to do. And that's just what I do. No pressure. No more. Now, that's not how I've always been. But right now, I don't let anything pressure. If 100 people come to my conference and I'm used to 300, ain't no pressure. I own the building. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't let people's perspective of me dictate what I do. So whether you think it's a success and 100 people walk away empowered, I'm good. If 400 people come, I'm good. So either way, I'll end with this. Jesus often made Himself of no reputation, which means I don't care what people view it as. I know I'm doing what God called me to do, and so I don't let the pressure of comparison overtake my life. I don't. At the end of the day, I live good. I probably eat too much. I was gonna say I eat well, but I probably eat too well. I eat well. My family's good. It's nothing to worry about.
That is such a testimony and a testament to what being persistent means, especially when you believe first, when you fear what you're supposed to fear, which is the reverencing of God, because I'm not talking about anything in this world, and you trust that He'll show up and show out on your behalf because you're one of His favorites. So that is an amazing highlight. Thank you for being so open and so honest about that story, because I think as entrepreneurs, especially those that share the same purpose, and even those that don't, that there are many different gifts, there are many different purposes and destinies that people are literally designed for. And there's a similar attack that comes to you when you're doing what you're supposed to do. So you have to just be diligent and press forward in the midst of understanding that the storm is going to come. It doesn't matter how amazing, incredible, awesome, how much money you have, how fit you are, how sleek you are with your tongue. It does not matter. The storm will come, and you do need to be prepared. But at the end of the day, the shelter that's provided for you is prayerfully coming from God. And that's a whole nother different topic that we can go in another time. But you just gave such an amazing testimony. So I just have to ask, in the midst of all this reconnecting, refueling, resting, releasing negative energy, where would you recommend people who Maybe anywhere in the United States, and we do have people who listen from Johannesburg, South Africa, Ontario, Canada, and beyond. But if they were in the US and they were tuning in and said, I just need a couple of day getaway, where would you suggest as one of your favorite places?
I am going there in the end of June. I'm taking my ladies from our church there, and that is the Spa Castle in New York, College Point, New York. It is so refreshing. It's 100. I believe it's 100,000 square feet of spa. It is so inexpensive. You would not believe the price of admission. I think it's like $50 to get there. And you got to look it up. It's amazing. And it has different whirlpools. It has different saunas and all of that. And that's just for the facility. Now, of course, you have to pay for the services that you receive. But $50 just to be in there all day from like 8 a.m. to midnight. They have a rooftop pool. You can partake in all of the pools and all of that stuff. And then you can decide which services you want to get. They have sushi. They have Wi-Fi. It is just a place where my daughter and I would go into escape. It's only an hour and a half from my house. And then you can kind of get a hotel up there. So my ladies and I, we're going to eat. We're going to, have a full day at the spa, and then we're going to go shopping. That's like the perfect girls' weekend. So that's what I would do. I would go to the Spa Castle and just, turn off your cell phones and just escape. You would think you were in another country. And that's what I do. Love it, love it, love it there.
That is wonderful. And I'm usually in New York at least a couple times a month. So I'm going to have to check out the Spa Castle. I'll make sure I get you to email me the exact information so I don't mess it up. That is awesome. Thank you. Pastor Monica, tell everyone how they can connect with you in the future going forward to get information from you regularly, or for something maybe that you have coming up at the end of this summer or this fall. What's going on with you and how can they can connect?
Real simple, pastormonica.com. At pastormonica.com, you can get to all of my social media outlets. You can get to everything. All of my other websites, pastormonica.com, is very simple. That's how you can keep up with me. You can sign up for the mailing list. Everything you want to know about me, it'll lead you right from that place.
You're incredible. Thank you so much. This was such an amazing. All Balance Beam episodes are amazing because I only pick people who are light and they are illuminating and impacting the world. And you are clearly a torch burner for that. So I thank you for doing what you're doing. I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And if there's any way that I can be helpful, let me know. You have a direct line of communication to me. You can get me. I want you to stay right there. Balance Beamers, please stay tuned for more tools you can infuse. Welcome back to another empowerment just for you. I want to have a small moment with you just to talk about the things you need to do when you're feeling down and doubtful. I want you to do something a little courageous, a little bit feisty, and maybe something a little unorthodox. I want you to pull out the boxing gloves and stand toe-to-toe with you. It's something we have to do often. It's something some of the industry experts and I have talked about countless times on and off camera. When you're at a place in your life, when you know you have all the tools you need, you have everything you're supposed to have, yet you're still doubting your next step, your next level, the possibilities, it's time to put everything down and literally box it out with you. Because it's all in your mind. We all go through it. Speaking to myself first, I definitely have been there. When I know that I am fully equipped to move forward, to take the next step, to make this difficult decision, or maybe one that's not difficult, but it's so easy that I think there's something sneaky behind it. You have to stand toe-to-toe with yourself and say, listen, Naketa Thigpen, Jon Snow, David Cooper, Sally Appletree, whatever your name is, you got this. And if you weren't sure before, you'll be sure by the time this moment is over. You literally have to box it out with yourself. I hope you enjoyed this empowerment moment.